So even at this point, those inner critic gremlins,
Oh, for sure.
saboteurs, yeah,
Yeah.
they're like, no.
Yeah.
You think you're a leader? No.
Right.
You think anybody wants to read what you're writing?
I know.
No.
Yeah.
So,
Oh.
did you hear that like, as I'm saying this? Like,
Oh yeah. Your
all
heart
saboteurs?
contracts. Yeah.
Yeah. So, here's where we need to get nice and intimate with all of the voices that don't want us to have our deepest desire. And that looks like literally writing them out. What are the voices saying to you? We don't necessarily need to interact with them at this point, but understanding who's here. I've talked about my biggest saboteurs uh, is who do you think you are? You know,
Yeah.
you. Like every time I'm about to do something that
Yeah.
that moves me further into that role, it's this discombobulated, who do you think you are? So having a sense, it's like, oh, okay, yeah. I know why I'm feeling fearful or stymied right now. It's who do you think you are? Who's actually, I've attributed to a very old boss of mine. So understanding who's here, the saboteurs, the gremlins, the inner critics, so that you can work with each one as required so that you can continue to move forward, because what we've already established is this role is important to you because it has meaning, it has and you're now ready. So we need to know who these are that are keeping you from that. Right. They're keeping you small, they're keeping you safe, they're keeping you in the same spot. Yep. Frankly, they don't they like things the way they are, because look at you, like you're perfectly perfect as you are. There's nothing broken. There's like, why fix what's not broken, right? But
and
what won't go away.
Yeah. And the risk and the fear of like, well, you know, I could fall flat on my face. That could be a disaster. People could say nasty things about me. You know, all these things are like, oh my gosh, you know, what about my relatives? What are they going to say? And there's so many there is a lot of fear around doing it.
Absolutely. So even in that, you go back to the what about having access and claiming your starring role is important to you. So going back to step 2. Yeah. And so then, you know, if we had lots of time, and you know I always want lots of time with you, it would be to what will number 2 give you? What's the meaning behind it? And is there anybody in your life that doesn't want that for you?
Right. Yeah.
Anybody in your life that doesn't actually want you to feel more actualized, more fully yourself, more capable, more, you know, what are all those, like, is there actually anybody in your life that doesn't? My mentor coach from a long time ago, Pam Slim, had this great exercise around who's this everybody, right? Everybody wants this. Everybody. Who is actually this everybody? And if you could actually drill it down and start naming it, usually it's 1 or 2 people who have become an archetype of everybody. Yeah. So just as identifying the saboteurs, getting clear about what all the stories are. Sometimes it's not a pretty story. That's okay. Yeah. So have some place to dig in, you know? Yeah. So knowing who the saboteurs are, so we can be prepared for them as we actually move into action. Yeah. Also recognizing, too, that sometimes the fire in our belly could be approaching 30, approaching 40, approaching 50, and it looks like, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to. And that, in a way, can almost be it can almost be a saboteur, in that it is a defeating kind of cyclical, I need to, and you're not enough now. You know, so there's a way in which I almost feel like you're not going to create from this place of I need to. Yes. It usually looks like the fire's great, but if you can make the shift from I need to be ready for this, to I am ready.
Oh yeah, that's big.
that's where the magic happens, right?
Yeah. Like I could literally feel my body breathe out when you said, I am ready. Like that, just like, the relief, like rather than I need to. And the pressure that you have on yourself then. Yeah.
Right. And I mean, who creates well from that pressure? I mean, there's a way in which I get it. I mean, I certainly never wrote an essay until the night before because that's just, but I like to think that also I had been processing so much up until that time.
It's all about the processing. Yeah.
Right. But even if you continue to have that conversation that I need to and move it into I am as more of an assertion, as an affirmation, I mean, and see how true that is for you. Yeah. If you have that visceral, then you're ready. Yeah. If it's still I need to, and you try to move it to I am, and it's still but there's some saboteurs we still need to go back to. And there is a very strong belief that is keeping you from moving forward. So Byron Katie has this great process called the work. If any of you have you come across this? So it's working with a belief. So the belief could be, I'm not good enough.
Right.
It's not good enough. Like, is that familiar to anybody? Not good enough. So the first step in doing, it's called the work, is it true? Ooh. Is I am not good enough? I'm not good enough. Is that true? Yes or no? Do you feel the pain in that? Yeah. I'm not good enough. So if the answer is yes, then the next question is, can you be absolutely certain that it's true?
Ooh.
It's most often a no. So finally, we're at no. Can you be absolutely certain that you're not good enough? Can you be absolutely certain you're not good enough? No.
No, because you haven't tried it. Yeah.
Not gonna happen, right? So how do you believe? So now that we've established that this is actually an untrue belief, now we can interact with it in a different way. So how do you react when you believe that thought? What does it do, right? And then that's where we can feel that sort of like less than. I feel defeated. I feel deflated. I feel you just like physically move on in towards yourself as all of these voices that are trying to keep you small. They keep you in this ball so that you don't get pecked off by the big bad forces of nature that are going to try to scoop you up, right? And that's what happens. So how do you react when you believe that thought? That's where you go typically, right? And then who would you be without that thought? So who would you be without the thought that I am not enough? Right? All of a sudden there's breath and there's space and there's expansiveness. And when you start to imagine, this is a really powerful thing to be able to do with somebody else, but of course you can do it on your own. You can just work with these questions. Who would you be without that thought? It has this quality of, oh, yeah. And that you'll probably recognize is a lot more similar to the way you are in the second part of these steps, right? Yeah. This is more the life on purpose. This is the actualized, this is the essential me now.
Yeah. And that's pretty spectacular. And I think it is like, it's such a different way of living. And I think even the way that you walk, the way that you interact with people, when you're feeling in your groove and you're feeling like you've got your bit of sparkle kind of going on, like it's a different way of interacting with the entire world.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So now to lock in that feeling of, because this is not the place that we want, this is why we do yoga, for God's sakes, to bring our shoulders back, to open our hearts, right? This is not how we function. Yeah. So now it's about creating a new belief or structuring a new belief. And so Byron Katie calls it the turnaround. So where I am not enough or I'm not good enough becomes something else. It could be I'm good enough. Yeah. But that's often removing the not necessarily resonant or powerful enough
Right.
for people. So maybe, and I don't want to make this true for anybody, but maybe the new belief from this place of new truth and expand, like, what's true now? And it might be, I'm the full shit. Or it might be, I'm actually the gold standard. Or it might be, I'm actually more, I've always been good enough.
Mm.
Yeah. It could be any one of those things.
Yeah.
That feels really true. Now, it's a great new affirmation.
Yeah.
Now, find 3 examples to prove that you're actually the gold standard, or you're actually more than good enough, or you've always been good enough.
Yes.
What are the 3 examples from your life? Now you have a new workable. So every time that I'm not good enough shows up in this process of stepping into the starring role of your life, you've got your new truth to root on into.
Yeah.
So then we are almost there. But this is not. I'll stop stepping into the starring role of your life.
It's not like you just decide it, and automatically, because there is always going to be these questions, and there's always going to be this doubt and this fear, and you need a bit of a strategy to help you get it through.
Yes.
All of this.
Yes, absolutely. And so now that you've dealt with, the role you want to step into, you know why that's important, you know what's been holding you back from it, the beliefs that have been holding you back, you worked with those beliefs. Now it's about looking to the people in your life, not the people that you believe don't want to see you succeed, but who is there, who's got your back, who wants to see you step into this, who knows. Who's been that person who's been tapping you on the shoulder to be leader? So now is the time to really, circle the wagons.
Yep.
Who's got your back here? Who's got your back in this new place? Who's your accountability partner?
Right.
Who's your mastermind? Who are the people you can now count on when you start to run this new marathon?
Right.
Really, you don't do many, and this can be a tricky place for people who are very independent to start to lean into some support. But just as stepping into the starring role requires cast and craft crew and everything else, it's not a one-person endeavor. And my my most foundational belief is that people want to see you succeed. People want to see you succeed. As you succeed, you create space for them to succeed, and that's what's so generative and beautiful, and the spiral of positivity that just makes me cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. I just love it. So now is the time to really, who are the people who help you to feel this expanded, So circle the wagons. Let them know what you're about to step into.
Yeah.
And now, 3 thrilling actions. Take 3 steps. What are the 3 steps that are going to have you move towards that role as leader? They're going to have you root into that, really claiming your mastery in your realm, that are going to give you some performance. What are the 3 speaking opportunities that you've been but now you're feeling ready for? What are the 3 actions that even right now you get a little some sort of butterflies even just thinking about,
and
but have not been available to you?
Actually taking action and then building the momentum. And I love that you say to do 3 things, not just now necessarily 1, because 1 can be just way too just scary even just getting 1. But if you've got a couple coming up and getting the momentum, and then you're kind of on the way. Yeah.
Well, just I could say go run a marathon. You said you've always wanted to go run a marathon, but it does require, do I actually have the right shoes? Not in a way to sort of stop you, but how are you, are you fully set up to have your body endure the new pace? There are muscles you've never used here. Asking for some support might be one of those muscles. Saying I'm the gold standard might be a new muscle. So to actually get into all of this, you might need, there are there might be, maybe you need to do a try first. Maybe you need to do 10K before you do that marathon. What are the 3 things that are going to move you towards stepping into that star role?
I love this, Tanya. This is
Baby me.